So the next 3 weeks we're going to break down the body now, I guess, into 3 sections. Training the lower body, training the core or the pillar, and then training the upper body. So we're going to break it down into finer detail as to what we're going to cover. Reason being, I suppose, what's our point of difference as exercise scientists? What makes an exercise scientist different to a personal trainer? And for mine, it is that you need to understand the science of exercise to a greater detail. That's not to say personal trainers don't, but you've done 3 years of uni, you need to have that more in-depth knowledge, if we're going to forge an industry of exercise science. And then the next step, what's CP, and when you explain to people, they go, so you're a physio? And you go, well, not really. Again, so what's the point of difference between an exercise physiologist and a physio? And again, for mine, we have to be far superior exercise prescription and programming because it's pretty much our only skill, as opposed to physios that have all the other tools, and massage, taping, and those sorts of things that can make a patient feel better instantly. We've got exercises to try and make someone feel better, so we have to be a lot better at that. Make sense? Cool, so we're going to go through saying, I'm going to skip through the background knowledge because last semester when I did this one it went a bit overtime. So we're going to shoot through that pretty quickly. We're going to go through the 3 major movements of the lower body, which are what? Hey? Hip hinge? Come on, this should be quicker. Yeah, split knee, there's 2 different forms. In my opinion, they can break them down.
Squat and lunge.
Squat and lunge, yeah? I've seen people that can squat perfectly that can't lunge, so that tells me they're 2 different patterns. I haven't seen people that can single leg squat perfectly but can't lunge. So to me, they're 2 different patterns. They need to be treated like that. So there's 3 patterns of the lower body. Single and double leg training, what are the pros and cons of each? As you guys probably know, I have my bias. I'll try not to present that. I'll try and be neutral. We're going to cover transitional postures, and lastly, we're going to talk about barefoot training. I'm not a podiatrist, but I'm just going to tell you where a bit of the, I suppose, the research is at, and then I am going to be a little bit biased and tell you my opinions on those things. So within this next 3 weeks of shoots, consider the teacher person to fish theory. You know, the whole teach a person to fish and feed for a lifetime versus give a person to fish and feed once. Same thing, I'm not just going to force programs down your throat here, I'm going to teach you concepts so that you can apply them within your own work and then build on that. And I think it's going to create a much better exercise scientist than if I just say, this is a really good exercise, you should do it. Make sense? So you must have an understanding of why. And those of you who listen to Mike Quality says that all the time, start with the why, understand the why. Because then when it comes to training someone, you can understand why you're giving them exercise, not just feeding them our recipe down their throat or your recipe that you've adapted down their throat just because. You understand the why behind our recipe, you understand the why behind why someone might actually be injured as well. So this is the background knowledge stuff. You should know this stuff, yeah? Joint by joint approach to the lower body. The lumbar spine is primarily stable. The hip is going to be mobile. The knee is supposed to be stable. The ankle is supposed to be mobile, and then it doesn't include it there. The foot is a stable structure, generally speaking. If you want to go a step further, the big toe should be mobile. We won't go to that detail down on the foot, but I'm going to show you today as well how it isn't that black and white. So that's the starting point. It's a really nice point to start with, the joint by joint approach. But the hip, for example, is a classic one where, yes, you want it to be mobile, but we see an awful lot of people that have poor hip stability or motor control that creates issues as well. So let's talk about that. So this is stuff I'm going to breeze through, but I want to focus on the hip just quickly. And when we talk about knee dominant exercise, for me, even when it's knee dominant, the primary driver should be the hip, and you just got to look at your anatomy for that. Look at the structure of the knee joint. It's just this bone that sits on top of this table, and we want to generate high forces through there. You even look at the muscles that surround the knee itself, there's not a lot. Yeah, there's the quad above it, and there's the hamstrings at the back, and the adductors, and all those things that work around it. But just in terms of the knee, it doesn't, if I wanted to generate a lot of power, it just doesn't scream stability to me. Whereas you go up and you look at the hip, and your hip joint is somewhere in here. So between there and there, I've got all this tissue that's surrounding that hip. It's just your powerhouse. You look at every good athlete, they've got huge hip muscles around here. Yeah, they may have huge quads as well. The size of their glutes, the size of the muscles that surround that incredibly stable joint. It's your powerhouse. As I said, it's primarily mobile, but you look at someone, for example, that every time they step, they've got that Trendelenburg, which is that frontal plane drop across that way. It's massive, yeah? You see it all over the place. That, to me, is a motor control issue or a stability issue. So that's where you would need to train stability and motor control through the hip, and again, we're going to talk about how you would do that today a little bit. It's the biggest one for mine where it's not that black and white. I had a patient yesterday, I'm treating for low back pain, and we're trying to mobilise his lumbar spine because it's so stiff and it hasn't moved for so long. We're trying to get it moving, and he left feeling better than when he got here just by giving him some more mobility through his lumbar spine. So it's not, the joint by joint approach isn't black and white. It's just a start. Made that clear. The ankle is broken down into two joints, but just consider plantar flexion and dorsiflexion for today. That's obviously going to be mobile. Yeah, we want that to be mobile. It becomes immobile quite frequently when people have an inversion ankle sprain. The whole ankle can lock down and then they lose that plantar flexion dorsiflexion range of motion, and that's going to ruin movement. So if I can't get dorsiflexion, then I'm not going to be able to squat. Yeah, because you're not going to be able to let that knee come forward to be able to sit down into a squat properly, and it's going to become more of a deadlift type pain. Okay, these are the things that hopefully by the end of the shoot, so you guys just have clearly recognise the difference in those patterns and why. The foot is ridiculously complex. You just look at that picture and look at how many bones are in there. There's just as many muscles that run over the top of it. Primary demands of the foot is stability. What you consider at the hand of the leg. We'll talk about barefoot training more later, but if you're wearing shoes, it's as if you've got big, thick, stiff gloves on your hands all day. Do you reckon your hand and your touch and your feel would work very well? Do you reckon your grip would work very well? Do you reckon your awareness of how to pick stuff up would be very effective if you took that glove off? So, consider the hand and leg. We'll get more into the foot in later sections. But if my foot's not stable and it's wobbling all over the joint, you can see there what that creates further up the chain. And the amount of time I spend now with knee injuries working with people and getting their foot strong and stable to help support their knee, it's huge. I actually look there now before I look at it. So you should be able to tell me about this stuff. Tell me about the desert. Where do your hips move? Don't look at the screen, it's cheap. Come on, surely you can throw that one out. That's hips move where? Forwards and backwards. Yeah, so it's that movement there. You've got a vertical shin. They're the key points we taught you at the start of the term. We're going to break it down in greater detail now. So this is a bit of a controversial one, neck neutral for mine. Some people, particularly in your powerlifting, your Olympic lifting side of things, will encourage right arm to try and get some more thoracic extension. For mine, functionally, cervical extension is connected to lumbar extension. And if you get people looking up, they tend to get more of a worm type action and they'll extend through their lumbar spine before they'll extend through their hips. So getting them to tuck that chin in, getting the cervical spine neutral helps them engage here and stay strong as they lift up through this region here. So there's both sides of the argument on that one there. My opinion quite strongly is that you want neck neutral. You want to have any thoughts or discussion points on that?
Yeah, I read a piece the other day talk about having a packed neck while deadlifting and rates of so lumbar dysfunctional degeneration a lot less opposed from packing in neck as opposed to those that have that cervical extension. So yeah, I think that's.
Can you send that to me?
Pardon?
Can you send that to me?
I'll try to find it.
That's awesome. So, people that are listening, they were just talking about there was an article that suggested people that had a packed or a neutral cervical spine had a lot lower rates of lumbar spine injury. So this is, we'll talk more about this next week when we get into the core. As exercise scientists, PTs, exercise physiologists, I think we're not necessarily in the avoid bracing bandwagon. Basically what happened is they did studies a while ago that showed people with chronic low back pain brace. And so then we went, well, bracing must be bad because people with back pain have bracing, so let's avoid bracing at all costs. And we went with this, just contract what you need to contract at the right time. The thing is, when you're under huge forces, you need to contract a lot of muscle, you're probably going to brace. So the analogy I would use, if you're playing footy and you're on the back of the fire the ball and Jonathan Brown's about to smash you, are you going to just activate your pelvic floor and your diaphragm, or are you going to lock on and engage everything? Probably going to lock on and engage everything. Same thing with the deadlift. If you're doing a fairly maximum deadlift, you're going to lock in. So whether that's an aggressive breath out to try and lock in and engage and brace, or whether you're going to hold your breath, again, I don't mind which side of the fence you sit on. For me, it's a breath out because you want to maintain breathing. But bracing is healthy when done appropriately. If I'm going to pick up my coffee cup and I'm going to brace when I do that, then that's obviously dysfunctional or unhealthy. But if I'm going to lift up a heap of weight and I don't brace, we're probably going to be more concerned with consequences there as well.
Call it brace that exhale with sound condition and that big breath in. Will that brace or will that be more volatile?
Similar concepts really. Like if you breathe out as hard as you can, what happens here?
down tight as possible.
Yeah, everything locks in. Yeah, so if you do an aggressive breath out, you'll naturally engage everything here to try and push that air out. So that's why concentrically under load, having that big breath out to lock in everything.
Would you recommend taking a big breath in right a little bit and exhaling as you?
Breathe in eccentrically because you can generate more force eccentrically, so you should be able to maintain that, and then aggressive breath out concentrically. Weight shift. This is a big one for mine when people are struggling with a deadlift. Deadlifting is shifting your weight backwards and shifting your weight forwards. And that's how you do it. Anytime, the best example I can use of this, I'm trying to do this on the screen. So I stand here where I can't shift my weight backwards. I can get to about here with a neutral spine before I'm going to fall on my face. Yeah? And this is where a lot of us would go, oh, and then if I try and touch my toes, that's about as far as I can get. A lot of us would go, oh, that dude's got tight hamstrings, yeah, because he can't touch his toes. Nothing to do with my hamstrings being tight, it's just an inability to be able to shift my weight back. If I don't shift my weight back, I'm stuck here. If I can shift my weight back into that, I can pretty much touch my toes. Yeah? So that's one of the most important factors for mine when I'm teaching with deadlift. So now, when I'm teaching it, can I get you to stand up for me? I've set up here, face, down. Yeah, cool. If I'm teaching a deadlift now, all I do is I get in this position here, squeeze there, good hold there, and you're going to move forward for me, push hips back. I'm just going to push those hips back in the early days teaching someone to help encourage that weight shift. Okay, stand up tall for me, push back, just to help encourage them, because a lot of people, that's the issue. They get the idea of staying straight here, but you're telling them to go further down, and they don't know how to. Or similarly, they go straight back, and because they can't shift backwards, they're just going to try and move that weight down, and the only thing they know how to do is squat. So getting that hips and pushing those hips back naturally just creates that pendulum from the 440 to a deadlift. Okay? Balance between the hamstrings and the glutes. So if you've got underactive glutes and dominant hamstrings, you're not going to go very far forward in a deadlift. You're going to get stuck at some point. So it's just telling you about the function of it. If someone's struggling with a deadlift and gets low back pain with a deadlift, probably start to look at what's going on through that region there. And then lastly, people that say deadlifting hurts my back, it's the way their deadlifting hurts their back. There's something going wrong. Deadlifting is a completely functional movement. Mel, can I steal that ball? Next. Back to 2 seconds. My 2-year-old does this. He walked over this ball and he thought it was pretty cool. He would walk over and he would squat down and he'd do a better squat than I'm doing now. So that ball's pretty cool, I want to pick it up, and he'd go like that to pick it up. So to get under heavy loads, first thing he's going to do is lift his hips to deadlift that weight up. That's where we're most powerful. Yeah? Interestingly, he weighs 14 kilos. The other day, he just walked over, and I didn't ask him to do that, but he just did it. I got a 12 kilo kettlebell at home, and he went bang, and deadlifted a 12 kilo kettlebell without batting either. So he's just deadlifted about 85% of his body weight, and he's 2 years old without even thinking about it. It just shows how dysfunctional you become with age through this technique and deadlift. Speaking of my kids, it's a cheeky excuse to get a photo of me here. As you can see from that picture there, with a squat, your hips move up and down. You have to talk about this. Shin can come forward. I'm not as sold as I always used to be on the knees not coming in front of toes. It's more about the hip to knee, the flex ratio of mine. It looks like the person's just dorsiflexing down into that, then obviously that's terrible. Yeah? And I'm going to try and encourage them to come from the hip. For me, again, watch the hips. The hips should be driving this movement. You'll get a lot of people at the top of the squat when they're back squatting, whatever, and they'll snap back there and never finish here. And they probably will tell you that their knees hurt. Because their knees, their primary driver through movement. They're just getting this aggressive hyperextension of the knee rather than finishing and driving the hips forward to finish through that, to finish through the squat. So make sure that the movement is being driven through the hips. Yeah? You tell me now, what's the difference between a front squat, back squat versus a trap bar squat in terms of weight distribution and what it will do to the movement cut? So front squat, where have you got the weight? In front of you. So what do you reckon it makes it easier to do? Pardon?
Just enough balance you out so you can go like better.
Yeah. Yeah. So it makes it easy for you to sit back into it because you're not going to fall backwards because you've got all this weight in front of you. So you can stay more upright and get deeper down into it with a more upright spine. Rather than most people like I did will get to about here and start to collapse, and that's no longer really a squat. Well, it is, it's just a terrible one. Versus when I've got that weight there, that allows me to stay upright, I can sit down into a when would you use that? Actually, save that question. It's a back squat do. Not a true question. What did the front squat do? Probably the opposite. Weight sits behind you. So the weight sitting behind you, do you reckon it's easier to stay upright into that, or do you reckon people are more likely to fall forward? Yeah, so they're more likely to come into this sort of deadlift pattern because they're trying to counterbalance the fact they've got weight behind them, and they're going to shift their weight forward to try and counterbalance that. So you'll see people with a back squat are more likely to end up in almost, again, more like a deadlift sort of pattern where their body's coming forward as opposed to staying upright.
And then like with that, what do you consider depth in a squat? Like I know some people go like, parallel should be how you squat, or other people are like, no, you can't do that because, someone's having their boys and their back, like, they're squatting like that.
A bit of post tilt.
Yeah.
How long you got? This is my opinion now. This is why I don't often back squat really heavy, because you've got a compressive load on a flexing spine. Most people that do back squat heavy, everyone that I've pretty much worked with, about 5% of them, that back squat heavy and deep end up with sore lower backs. Because you've got a flex spine with compression. And according to Stuart McGill's work, if you want to blow up a disc, you just repetitively flex the spine. If you add flexion with compression, what do you reckon that's going to do to the fluid discs and skin? So that's why I don't back squat heavy. Depends what your purpose is and what you're trying to achieve. So do you know what joints are more active in what areas of the squat? Top, you're getting a lot. The last portion, your glutes will take over and will drive you up. Middle portion down to about parallel and just below parallel, your quads are taking over, so it's more of that knee dominant work, so you get more quad. Below that, you get more glute. So it depends on what you want to work on from that perspective. I like deep squats going on to the next point, because in order to squat deep, you need really good external rotation, range of motion, and hip and function of the glute, internal rotators versus external rotators. We're always talking about function. We want our external rotators on to pull that knee out into more varus as opposed to valgus. People that have an internal rotation overload as they push through, for example, will often get like an internal rotation and a valgus force through that knee, versus people that, you see really good sprinters, as they explode out of the blocks, they sort of push across and they externally rotate. That's because that glute's just dominating and pulling that out. So people that have good function and balance between those things will be able to squat deeply well. People that don't will collapse. Another thing in a theory that I'm currently researching is I reckon the earlier that butt lift happens, the worse their psoas and the arcus function. So everyone thinks they're the bad guys, but psoas is actually a core stabilizer, if you like, and its job is to compress and stabilize the spine. So if that's not on, it's not getting pulled into extension, into deflection, and it's collapsing back into that posterior tilt. So how long you got? I got a lot of video on this. Functionally, for most athletes, parallel squat is fine. I like training below that because I think it's going to get more glute generation, more hip power. That's going to get the momentum through that knee zone to then finish off.
So we've got someone post tilting below parallel, which I've seen most people going into it. What would you do to correct posterior tilt?
I'd palpate their psoas and the arcus as good as I can, and if they screamed, I'd send them to one of our soft tissue guys and get them to soft tissue that, or I'd get them to try and soft tissue it themselves. And then I'd train their inflection pattern to try and get more compression into their inflection range. Does that make sense? So what I'm talking about compression is that, and I'm a perfect example of this, because I've got a bit of FAI, is that as I squat down, I lift about there, and then I post tilt, which is really early. If I lift my back, I can only get to about there, that's it. If I stick my thumb into that zone in there and try and release it now, I can often get a little bit more range out of that. So, yeah. Does that make sense? That's what I'm talking about when I want them to suck. I want them to get that pelvis tilted back and they're trying to push their stomach in towards their thigh, which is relatively great hip flexion range of motion. Just go on. No? Sort of getting half legs there, half, or whatever. Yeah? That's what I would do. But most people aren't parallel because it's about 9 degrees of inflection is where they'll lose that. My bias is, if you don't know better, stay away from it. Stay neutral spine. Do you guys get the hip external rotation range of motion? So if I keep my knees neutral, I'm going to get to there and then I'm going to collapse. If I can turn my hips out to give my pelvis room to sit down, I'm going to be able to sit a little bit lower. Okay. So squats are incredibly underrated for hip external rotation function and range of motion. Okay. So a lot of the time if someone has a really tight adductor group, they won't squat. Cool, and ankle dorsiflexion obviously plays a role again, because if I can't let those knees come forward, I'll do things like that. Collapse earlier. Yeah? Or watch for this one as well, if someone's had an ankle issue on one side, they'll do things like this. Move away from that. So clear that ankle to allow them to become symmetrical. Okay? Last pattern, the lunge. Vertical shin, vertical back thigh, vertical body. That's the bottom position there. Yeah? It's not here, it's not there. Stay as vertical as they move up and down. Right? Front leg does as much of the work as possible. Hips drive the movement, not the knee again. So something you see here as people come up is I'll snap that knee back there like that. It's not something I want to see. I want to see this glute, this one here, driving that movement forward. So driving your hips up as opposed to driving that knee back. Make sense? Going into this again. So an anterior pelvic tilt. Watch my knees as I anteriorly tilt. Creates an internal rotation force. Yeah? So you think of my acetabular, my femoral head, as I anteriorly tilt, essentially does that because I was twisting that femur in. Yeah? So if you've got someone trying to lunge in an anterior pelvic tilt, they're going to collapse in that way over and over again. Okay? So you need to fix here first, and that'll allow them to do that better. Same thing with a squat. If you've got someone falling into valgus with a squat, they're likely to be anteriorly tilted. Fix that, and that may fix their valgus force with their knees as well. Frontal plane. The other thing you want here is you want neutral across here. Yeah? You don't want any of that. Move them that way. So you're trying to stay as neutral as possible as they lunge up and down. Never underestimate this movement, back foot, ankle, dorsiflexion, range of motion. Particularly if people are getting pain through that back knee. If I don't have the ability to sit back into that ankle and I push that forward, it's going to put a lot more pressure here straight away versus having the range of that ankle to sit down, come back up. Okay, so if someone's got issues in their back knee, look at that back ankle.
What about when they're like rotated like so they go down, but they're flat footed and they come like that?
Yeah, what have you just done for your back knee? Yeah? Okay? It's the same as this. It's just valgus, yeah? If you're repetitively loading the valgus, you're going to create stress on the length through everything that's controlling that valgus force and trying to support the medial knee. So if someone can't get to that position there, I won't let it lunge. And back quad feels tight. Is my quad on excessive length at any point there? Not really. Hips neutral, back knees at 90 degrees. That's the equivalent of me standing here like this. My back quad tight now? No. It only feels tight because it's trying to do a job it can't. So if someone's feeling really tight through here, you may want to release it and try and find alternatives like we've done with the rear foot slide lunge, for example, where they can't push through that back leg. You want that drive to be coming through this front leg. Okay? Notice my back here. So where does that fit in? Rear foot elevated split squat. What sort of pattern is that? This one is a true question. Take the back leg out of it. What does it look like? All the keys to the lunge. Vertical body, vertical back thigh, vertical shin. Are any of those things vertical? No? So a rear foot elevated split squat is actually not a split squat. Does it look like a squat? So rear foot elevated split squat is a single leg squat. Yeah? So if I wanted to put, we get into bilateral versus unilateral loading in now, if I wanted a unilateral loaded squat, I would go to that before I would go to this. Because you can put a lot of force through this. Bilateral deficit versus total load. This is the major argument for me when it comes to double leg versus single leg load. Yeah? Bilateral deficit is basically I told you this example before. When I was training, I could single leg deadlift 70 kilos on this leg and single leg deadlift 70 kilos on that leg for 6 on each. I've never been able to deadlift anywhere near 140 kilos in my life. That's the bilateral deficit, is that if you train both, single and double leg, you should be able to lift more on single leg combined than you could with a double leg lift. My best double leg deadlift, I think, is 110 kilos. So, significantly less work gets done by my legs if I'm doing double leg lifting. That's the bilateral deficit. But then the counter argument from the double leg group is that it comes back to the total amount of force you can put into the ground, which is fine. I would somewhat agree with that, but the limiting factors for me is what it comes back to. What are you training? What are the limiting factors? For me, again, double leg lifting. I told you I've tried not to advise that. The limiting factors generally are what? What fails on most people when it comes to a deadlift? Why do you stop it? Yeah, why do you stop? If you were doing RM testing with someone, why do you stop them? Because their legs can't lift the weight, or what? Grip? Yeah, grip or their back. Yeah, they start to look like Monty Burns if they lift the weight up, yeah? So your limiting factors are what? Your grip and your back strength. Rarely people go, I just couldn't get that weight up with my legs. Versus if I could double leg deadlift 110 kilos, theoretically my back and my hands can hold 110 kilos, so I could load up to 110 kilos on one leg. Yeah? But the limiting factor on one leg is what? Yeah, whether you can stay upright. So, think said principle for mine when it comes to these discussions. What are you trying to train? Specific adaptation and imposed demand. If you want to put the whole body under some load, you want to get some good high load strength through their back and their core and their legs all at once, then there's no better way of doing that than deadlifting and squatting heavy weights. If you want to make their legs stronger, then for mine, single leg loading is the safest way to do it. Because you're going to get the most total load that you can through single leg lifts. Yeah? What percentage of basketball is played on? Basketball I only know, but others would be similar. What percentage of basketball would you spend on one leg versus two? You know? 80% of the time you're on one leg. So if someone's not stable on one leg, probably not going to go through it. We'll go through this quickly. Tall kneeling and half kneeling. Those two postures there, they're what we call transitional postures. So why, whenever you want to improve double leg motor control, we talked about motor control early, this is your position to do that. It's a really nice position to teach hip hinging out of, but you can do all sorts of cool anti-rotation press, for example, or parallel press, all sorts of stuff from here to work on your stability through your double leg pattern. So if someone lacks stability through a squat or a deadlift on two legs, then I bring them down to here. It takes that foot and the ankle complex out of it and they can work on their hip control. Half kneeling for me is getting them ready for single leg load. Whenever someone gets into half kneeling, that front foot's just hanging out. Yeah, so all their weight's through that back knee. If you try and narrow up in that position there, the only thing that's really going to hold you upright is what's stable through this hip. And again, if they feel really tight through their quad, that's a motor control issue because your quad should be stable. Yeah? So these are the sorts of positions we'll get people into to try and correct some of those. So if we were talking about the lunge, someone's got a Trendelenburg when they lunge, that way. If I take them down into half kneeling, I can't Trendelenburg them. I just can't do it. Yeah? So it's a nice way to then work on that hip control. Yeah? Wrap it up quickly. It's really effective for teaching hip hinge and split squat from bottoms up as well. Coming back to my kids, this last point we'll do today. The first time they had a squat, what they did is they crawled over the couch, they grabbed onto the side of the couch, and they got their legs underneath, which looked something like this. We got to here, up there, and then they stood up. And it was a perfect squat. And this is the beauty of a trap squat for mine, is you get people in the right position at the bottom, they never stuff up. Same with the lunge. If you get someone in this position here, and you tell them to stand up, the only time they'll ever have an issue is if they've got pain or they're not strong enough. Stand up. Yeah? Versus if they're up here, you'll get all sorts of wonderful cheating things happening first. So if you teach movement from the ground up, most of the time people won't have an issue. And in those early phases, you say, get down however you want to get down, and do whatever you want, right? Get upright, stand up, showing them a perfect pattern over and over again. Same thing with the squat. If you can get them down in that bottom position, then you can stand up from there. It's nice. Or if you wanted to teach deadlift, nice position to be teaching about hip hinge as well. So I can't overload through my knees. I can't do a squat. Just got to be there. Cool. We'll wrap up. I'll touch on barefoot stuff at the start of next week before we move to the core, okay?